Space, the final frontier. Well, okay, not really. All right, take two. Here in the Mitten State, welcome to Code 47, bringing you all things Star Trek, spanning the quadrants, the best thing since the neutral zone.
Hey, Trekkers, welcome back to Code 47 on the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. This is episode number 178. I am your humble servant, Trek Lord of West Michigan, Charlie Carden, joined as always by my number one, Mr. Peter Stein. Hello.
Hello.
And we've got a returning guest we're going to see if I get the name right on the first blush. This is his second time with us, but writer and from the good folks over there at Screen Rant, John Orchiola.
You got it. That's it.
Oh my God, yes.
It's not.
I was practicing. I was practicing in the mirror, I swear to God. No, it's great to have you back and from the other side of the world because you are in the Philippines recording late at night where it's late morning here. So, but no, it's awesome to have you on board. We're psyched. We've got guests coming up for the next several episodes to talk about Strange New World Season 4, which is rolling out. So we're super psyched. And then Peter and I, John's going to leave us. And then in the second segment, we're going to get into talking about a new feature, which is a top 5 of top characters talking about James T. Kirk. So we're pretty psyched about that. So let's get the ball rolling. Real brief. Always want to give some love and respect to the people not only who are joining us from the Trek Geeks Network. We did join a couple of months ago. So if you're filtering over from that feed to listen to our show, welcome. We're glad to have you. In short, our show talks about episodes. That's really what we focus on with a little bit of news, episodes and characters and things like that. So that's kind of our niche. But we're also part of a network that has 3 other great shows, one of which does creator and actor interviews called The Spotlight. We have a monthly Star Wars show called The Holocron Chronicles, and we have a weekly feature of the week show called Secret Friends Unite, Oops, All Thunderdome, which means it's just a topic-based. That was always a topic segment of our old show. So please, you can find them under all of those and then links at our website, secretfriendsunite.com. Also, while I'm plugging, want to give some respect to the wonderful people on our Secret Friends Unite Patreon. All of our shows can be featured there, but they come out early. In a lot of cases, this show comes out a day early. Some comes out even more than that. Exclusive content like Peter and I wrapping up just recording this weekend, talked about Ron Moore's Battlestar Galactica on the Facts Geek Life, which we're super psyched about, and a channel on our Discord that's exclusive. So over at patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite, your first week is free. First month is half off, and then you stay on board for as little as $2 a month. I encourage people just to sign up for free. If you're not willing to commit, just to kind of keep track of us. And then if you like what you're hearing, please certainly feel free to stay on board from that. Again, patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. All right, John, I'm going to engage you with this opinion topic. We're in this slice where we're recording this. When this episode comes out, will be the week of Star Trek Las Vegas or Trek to Vegas. What's the official name of the show now? They had to change it, I know.
It's STLV Trek to Vegas, I believe is the
Trek to Vegas. Okay, because it used to be Star Trek Las Vegas, and that didn't Trek. Somebody didn't like that.
They can't say Star Trek, I think. Like there's a
exactly. Trek to Vegas. But you can say San Diego Comic-Con, which happened last week. And the people at Star Trek did have a panel and a presence there, obviously at the show and in Hall H. But I'm going to invoke the mighty 1980s clause. It was a real where's the beef moment for me because we did not learn about any new programming outside of the existing animated preschool show Star Trek Scouts, of which I've watched 1 or 2 of them. I know that's over on YouTube, but that's not really the beef I'm looking for. Right. And then I feel like after the fact, we got a little tease about John Francis Daley and his writing partner, the film that they're producing, but that was not featured. So John, from a newshound perspective and somebody who specializes in Star Trek, talk to me about your feelings about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, I never honestly expected any news about the future of Star Trek at this panel. I would have been shocked if we actually got like some sort of announcement, a plan. Who's the new showrunner? If Alex Kurtzman is going to be replaced, what new shows are going to be made? When will these new shows be made? All of that stuff would have honestly floored me if they actually talked about that. I got what I expected, which was just talking about Strange New Worlds and then also talking about the 60th anniversary of Star Trek. And and the three announcements that were made, when I got the night before when I got the press release, I was like, oh yeah. Yeah, this is pretty much what I expected. So certainly, I mean, the biggest news was Star Trek Scouts getting a season 2. And the ironic thing about this now is that if this show keeps going, this is the flagship show of Star Trek.
Oh my God.
It was the only show being made.
How the worm has turned. And it's not even on Paramount. It's on their YouTube clips, aren't they, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, that's why it's invulnerable in a way. Like, as long as but if it's finding its audience, it's toddler preschool audience, and it can run for years and years, and it's not under the Paramount Plus banner, so it's not privy to whatever changes are happening at Paramount Skydance. Then yeah, it's crazy. And then I think the other big announcement, I guess, was the new cadet at Starfleet Academy season 2.
Right.
Whose character's name is Keats. I don't know. I can't pronounce the actor's name. I will learn the actor's name by the time we do press for it next year. But I can't pronounce.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I can't pronounce his name right now. But that's actually I thought that was a cool and surprising reveal that a new character, a new cadet, will be coming in, because those 6 or 7 characters, those young kids in the first season, gelled very well together. So I thought it was an interesting idea to bring in an outsider to kind of maybe, create some tension among the friend group.
Right.
And it's also, I thought interesting too, just the backstory of Keats, where he's like, he's a wanted man with a mysterious past who was out in the galaxy all alone. I'm like, that is exactly the backstory of Caleb Meir.
Right.
Yeah. So, which I wrote about actually last week after the announcement came out, where I was like, well, I guess that means that what Tarima told Caleb when they had a fight in episode 8 came true, which is that he's a good little academy boy now. So we need a new rebel to come in, because Caleb has been tamed. He's been completely converted to Starfleet Academy at this point, as we saw in the
Oh my goodness.
So
no. It's going to be that, hey, I'm not the rebel boy turned good, or exactly that. I'm a rebel Dottie, an outsider like Pee Wee Herman. Oh my gosh, Peter, any thoughts about San Diego Comic-Con and Star Trek?
Nothing really stuck out to me. That was a huge deal. I did kind of like that they had like the big panel that they had representatives from pretty much every show.
Yeah,
right.
That's nice.
So I thought that was kind of neat. I was a little bummed that like we didn't have as many people, like we didn't have, Shatner and Koenig there, but I know there was reasons why like not both of them couldn't be there.
Yeah, I've heard that Koenig's health is in question.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, because it's the original series is the one that's turning 60, it would have been cool to have both of them there.
Right.
So I was a little bummed by that, but outside of that, the panels and everything were kind of interesting. But yeah, I mean, nothing new, but I wasn't also expecting much because I hadn't heard rumbles.
Right.
So.
No rumbles. Well, speaking of, and again, this episode is coming out Monday of the week of Trek to Vegas. So, John, you're not flying back for that, are you? That'd be a hell of a trip for you.
I tried to make the math work. I just couldn't do it. So
I'm in the same place because I have, for my regular job, I have a company function, a golf outing that happens that Saturday, which would make traveling there. I'm the same place as you. It's math. And so getting there, if I flew in, I would go Wednesday, Thursday, and fly back Friday morning. And Friday, Saturday is when you want to be there, as I recall, because I've been once. And I went the year of the strike, so the content was kind of like, blah, So I would love to see it in its prime, but I just don't know that I'm ever going to be able to if I keep this job, and I'd like to. Same golf outing will always be at the same time, so I just don't have much of a choice. So, any wild and crazy predictions or things that you think are going to be interesting at Trek to Vegas that you've heard that you can share that people might already know, or they can at least say, "Hey, he was wrong."
I mean, I don't know about like anything wild and crazy. I mean, there's going to be really, really cool stuff. I mean, because along with the 60th anniversary, I think they're celebrating the 25th anniversary of Enterprise. So they have like Bacula come back because he was there last year, and then like do this big thing.
Combacula.
Yeah, Combacula. And join the cast. I think that's a really, really pretty awesome thing. I'm an Enterprise fan. I was a early adopter of Enterprise. I was actually watching it
Me too.
when it was on UPN. I was one of the few. So
Me too. Yeah, I was. That was a couple of years after I got out of college. I was in the workforce, and that was my. Was that on Monday nights? Did it take Enterprises or a Voyager spot on Monday nights? I feel like it did.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't remember. I think it was like. Was it on the same night as Smallville or Smallville on Tuesdays? Because
Smallville was on Tuesdays, and God knows how I remember that after 25 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was very big. That fall of 01, Peter's like, I was 10.
Correct.
Oh man, well, cool. Well, it'll be interesting, and we'll probably do a bit of a Trek to Vegas wrap up in our next episode. Anything that comes out of that, or even anything gigantic. But all right, one last plug before we get into talking about the first couple of episodes of the fourth season of Strange New Worlds. As a part of Trek Geeks, we are very happy to be a supporter and have a sponsor in the wonderful people at Fansets. We love Fansets, and John, I'm sure if you've seen their stuff, you've been to Vegas and have some of their. Everybody seems to have some of it in their collection, but Peter and I, as customers, we have been for many years, love their stuff, particularly their magnetic deltas, which you see one of. I'm pointing, but we're not on video. But I have one that permanently lives on the arm of my microphone because it's magnetic. See, ta-da, goes right back there. You heard the clunk. But no, absolutely wonderful stuff. They make all kinds of great both pins and magnets from items that look great on a costume cosplay uniform, or even fun ones representing characters, other franchises as well. So I call it cosplayer's choice, like taster's choice if it was coffee. Mm-hmm. But if you visit their website, fansets.com, and use the code TrekGeeks, all caps, no spaces, you save 10% off your entire order. And when you spend more than $30, which is really 2 pins, your shipping is automatically free to the U.S. So absolutely no reason not to do it. Please use the Trek Geeks code when you go there. And it's a great family-owned business. Lou and Amity, husband and wife out of Colorado. So you're buying from a small business, which is very near and dear to my heart. Okay. That's enough of that. Let's move on to talk about some actual Star Trek again. Strange New Worlds back for its penultimate and last full season, unfortunately, because we know that season 5 is only going to be the 6 episodes, right? 6 episodes? Yeah, 6 episodes. Yeah. So, but let's focus on the present. And in the present, we had some pretty damn good episodes. I was pretty psyched about what we got going on here. So, Peter, why don't you read us the 1-paragraph summary of the first episode?
The sentence. So episode 1 is Valus Marineris. Pike leads the crew into a stellar storm, which sends the Enterprise back 65 million years. And if that number is familiar, there's reasons.
Could be. All right, let's go for it. John, talk to me what you thought about this episode.
I thought this was a great premiere. Probably the best of the 4 premieres of Strange New Worlds. I think this episode had pretty much everything. It had a great story, obviously a big twist at the end, and huge surprises. A great guest star in Saffron Burrows as the the Martian captain. I think her name was Cassell, like Vincent Cassell.
It wasn't Roger Cassell? Roger Cassell, the old sportscaster, right?
Yeah,
he's from Boston. You're from Boston. You'd know.
Yeah, I thought it was a very, very great Star Trek episode. With certainly, I did not see how it would twist and turn and basically rewrite. Did it rewrite canon, or did it just actually tell us what was always there that we didn't know about?
Right.
It was one of those things. Yeah. It's a predestination paradox, I guess.
Right, exactly.
So
Peter's making faces, so I'm starting to wonder what he's going to have to say, but we'll get there. But yeah, Peter, please be my dark shadow.
I am definitely the dark shadow on this one.
Hey, didn't like
it. I thought it was fun, but I didn't like parts of it. So I liked I hate bootstrap paradoxes in time travel. I always have.
Break it down for me, because I'm not picturing the exact context of what a bootstrap paradox is.
So a grandfather paradox is a little bit different, where it's like you go and cause the event but you're not the cause of you going to the past. A bootstrap paradox
Like
is
Back to
you
the Future.
a bootstrap paradox is you cause the thing that causes you to go to the past, which then causes again you to go to the past. So it's a loop, but you are the initial cause.
Okay.
I'm ping ponging right here, but I think I got it.
Interstellar.
I'm with-
Interstellar is a bootstrap
Interstellar.
paradox.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's what that is. So I've just never really been a fan of bootstrap paradoxes. So they work. They're tricky to write. This one was actually written fairly well. So I will give them that. Like, out of most of the bootstrap paradoxes that I've seen, this one I may have disliked the least. So yay.
Yeah. Yay.
But the thing that was kind of a sticking point for me was the timeline inconsistency, and I guess we could call a canon rewrite however you want to do. But it was more just like the fact that we had life on Mars, sentient life, space capable life, felt very much like it was yoinking from Mass Effect again. And then
This is just
also,
right over my head because again,
Yeah.
Peter, you and I have been. I know you love Mass Effect. Todd, who I used to record with, love Mass Effect. I still have no picture of it at all. So
it's
I'm
fine.
like,
yeah,
okay.
but the thing that like just bothers me about it, like I find it fascinating that was the decision, and it's interesting to try to make it work. But the fact that like Starfleet's been around for how long, and we haven't, and like especially in the 24th century, like we have Utopia Planitia on Mars, and we have no idea that there was any sentient life or starships.
It's the
on
next
Mars.
mountain over. They're doing digging. They're like, what do you think about we go on the other side of that rock? No, let's go home today. And then somebody rewrites their budget and they can't go any further.
So it's just
that's what it is.
So there's that, and then there's the blowing up another planet, which doesn't have enough mass to create the asteroid belt, but that's what we're doing because you saw there's no asteroid belt at that point.
Right.
So we're creating the asteroid belt. That's not how solar system formation works, but okay. And then immediately we have the asteroid that goes and wipes out the dinosaurs, and then
they got them all in one big kit and caboodle.
And then the assertion is that that's what causes mammalian sapient life to evolve on Earth. And it's like, there's just one too many cliches and tie-ins for me in this episode where it's like, this caused this, this caused this, this caused this, this caused this, and oh, we're so important. It's like, no. Like, it would be kind of fun if you had one of those, but because they were all smushed in there together, it was like 3 steps too far for me.
One toe over the line, sweet Jesus. I'm going to swing back in John's direction. This could have been my favorite episode of the series. I know that sounds nuts, but and again, without me digging too deep in any of my notes, because I take a shit ton of notes that I never talk about. But even if I just jump right to the end, I'm with John. Best season kickoff that we've had, and we desperately needed to win after season 3 because we had some clunkers in season 3. Certainly was the opinion on this broadcast. Although to each their own. I love Saffron Burrows. I mean, all the way back to God. There was an independent film from Ireland, England, back in the early 90s called Circle of Friends. John, maybe you remember that one because you're a film buff. Peter, that might not be one you've heard of, but it was like Minnie Driver. It was Minnie Driver's first big something. Chris O'Donnell was in it. Mm-hmm. Chris O'Donnell, the guy who was Robin, like right around the same time, and who was then on NCIS. But yeah, she was the ingenue, the bad girl in that movie, and then she was, of course, in the delightful 1999 2001 movie Deep Blue Sea, where Samuel L. Jackson's giving a big speech and a shark pops out and crunches him. She was the woman in that.
Yep.
So I think she's awesome, and I think she played a great role in this. I kind of dubbed her as Pike's Martian girlfriend, or Pike's girlfriend from Martian Canada. I don't know, because there was a vibe between them, I thought, without a doubt. But Bootstrap Paradox, Peter, I don't dislike them because it's all kind of silly, right? But I can
I
see where
like
you're
temporal mechanics and figuring out how that works. So I get in the
I can absolutely see where you're coming from. And there were definitely inconsistencies in this that didn't make any sense. Like if their predestination paradox was if their mission was to drift into this cloud and then find a buoy that it's like, oh, this buoy's going off, but we can't really figure out what's going on, and they left the buoy there. I'm like, did the buoy just have a solar battery that kept it going for 65 million years? Can any piece of technology function even in space for that infinite amount of time?
But again, the idea that I kind of got was that there was the storm opened up a rift, then that allowed the signal from the past to get there. So that's
what I inferred.
Yeah, so that's why it's more of a bootstrap paradox than just a
there we go. Okay,
so,
gotcha.
I mean, I'll tell you what bothered me about this episode when they got to Earth, when La'an and Ortegas and Una were on Earth, they're walking around, and the big revelation is like, oh my God, this is Earth 65 million years ago. And I'm the whole time like, how are you guys breathing? What is in this atmosphere that actually allows you to, like, how are you not dying from how different the atmosphere must be 65 million years ago? Because, it's not the same Earth. So like
it's still a class M planet. It would be a similar
I never thought about that
composition, but it would be a bit different.
Yeah.
Right. But, yeah, and you think they would be like, oh man, I'm like I'm really puffing because
they need something. So
I think that
unless before they got in the shuttle, they analyze the atmosphere. It's like, okay, we'll need this pill or something just to,
Yeah, right.
That wasn't it. But there.
I absolutely loved, and I feel like this has come up in scientific studies or maybe in memes or something. My brain glums together, but they show a velociraptor who's got feathers. Mm-hmm. That was awesome.
Yep.
Because that's one of those, like, how do we know they didn't really look like this? Or maybe it came up as something that was discovered, but because
it's supposed to be smaller.
Yeah, because of Jurassic Park, everybody thinks they look, Peter, exactly like you said, they're 9 feet tall and scaly like other
the ones in Jurassic Park were Deinonychus.
Oh,
this one's a velociraptor, but it's also as tall as the Jurassic Park Deinonychus, and they're not. They're the size of like Great Danes or something. The velociraptor is
still jump on the back.
They're still big, but they're not taller than a human.
Right.
Yeah.
And as a side note, brachiosaurs were not alive at this point in the Cretaceous period.
Oh my goodness.
Well, they did go. I mean,
such a stickler.
They just went full Spielberg at the end with that final shot of like.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, they did. But it's like I'm watching it, and I went down to my brother, who is the dinosaur expert, and I was like, "Hey, this struck me as wrong. Am I right?" And he was like, "Yeah, you're right."
Judge's ruling. However, velociraptors are susceptible to getting punched in the face by a superwoman.
I did think that was kind of funny because any animal is going to do that, where you punch it and it's like, what? I'm going to leave now.
Yeah. It's like, it's pushing back the schoolyard bully. I liked the bug aliens. Is it with the doldrum or the doldrums?
The doldrum.
Are pretty much like the aliens from Independence Day, who they're all they do going through the cosmos is go to a planet and zap up all the resources and take off. I thought that was a nice throwback because I love that movie.
Another weird point that I thought was strange was we had no reference to the Voth, because they left a little bit before this.
They left the week before that, so no.
Yeah. Well, there was no reference to them, and it was like a big. I mean, the fact that the Enterprise crew didn't see them makes sense because Voyager didn't know about them. But
right, yeah, nobody did. But Voyager kind of discovered them, as it were.
It was just one of those, like, there could have been a little visual reference or something, or
a wink,
or the Martians making some reference to some ship leaving the system. I don't know. It just felt a little strange that we added a whole other planet but didn't have the Voth.
I did note that the Martians, who had pointed ears, so I'm like, okay, well, there's some connection there. But the fact that I think at the end it's Mbega saying, well, I looked at her DNA and the elements of their DNA are present. So could they be the preservers or part of the preservers, or do they have pointed ears because they bopped over from the next system? Or I thought that interesting and maybe something we could see again in the future.
Yeah, I think
interested.
I think Jörg Hillenbrand, who does a lot of the deep dives into
I know him.
And he pointed out that the Martian pointed ear was kind of like an ode to Roddenberry's original conception of Spock before, when he was originally thought of as a Martian before the whole Vulcan thing was created. So Spock had
I
40
like
years,
that.
and it was kind of like designed after how Roddenberry described Spock in like the original pitch document for Star Trek, way like in
Yep.
64, 65.
Gotcha, Martian. What do we think about the new Vulcan cadet who just likes to step on everything fun happening? I mean, she's like the ultimate Vulcan bummer. She's hot though,
Yeah.
so
Yes.
maybe I kind of gave her a pass. You know, that's the dog in me, I guess. But yeah, she takes every opportunity to just be like a fart in church. She's like, Uhura's like, hey, it's nice to meet you. Well, we don't. Okay, well, I've met you now, and we don't really need to talk anymore.
She's an Enterprise Season 1 Vulcan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess
Yeah, she's T'Pol's cousin.
it's only been 100 years, but I guess the Vulcans are still in that Enterprise, personality trait of just thinking humans,
Right.
and are. For some reason, she went to Starfleet Academy, and she's really annoyed by having to be around humans all the time, even though I guess it was her choice to go.
That kind of blows my mind.
Out of the Science Academy, so I had to go to Starfleet now.
Yeah, all these Vulcans were like, humans suck. Well, you know what? Why don't you get the first bus back to Vulcan? We don't want you anyway.
Yeah.
But it's like it's supposed to be a federation where everybody is like loving and accepting of each other. But then you got to realize that that's probably not realistic.
Yeah.
It doesn't really exist anywhere.
Except for Scotty and Uhura. I'm sorry, Scotty and Ortegas, who were feuding.
That is a great new dynamic. That, I mean, John,
Fantastic.
you've seen probably the first 6 episodes the same way that I have. They continue to expand on that as the episodes go forward, and I think that that's a fun dynamic that I hope doesn't result in Ortegas being dead at the end of the series. But fingers crossed.
It definitely
Fingers crossed
feels
that
like,
there's more.
I mean, I
more
haven't
stories
seen
there.
anything past this, but it definitely felt very Navy to me when I heard it.
Yeah.
Because the engineers or some of the other officers, everyone complains about pilots.
Right.
Everybody
Yeah.
complains about pilots. So I thought that was kind of a funny little,
Yeah.
we're gonna bring this in. I thought that was kind of funny. So I don't know
Gotcha.
where it goes from here. So I'm kind of curious to see what happens.
Yeah, exactly correct. All right. Any other thoughts before we give our out of 10 ratings, then move on to the second episode? Any final thoughts?
No, I just really, really liked the episode. I just think it was a really strong premiere, and it was a lot of fun. And,
Yeah.
Also insane. Just
Yeah.
just the very idea of the Enterprise being the reason why the dinosaurs died.
Life on Earth evolved.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. The human race was born, as it were.
It's a completely nutty idea, and
Yeah.
but that's kind of what I expect out of Stranger Worlds now. For big swings, that's probably the biggest when you really think about it.
I absolutely agree. Peter, anything that you liked that maybe besides
things that I liked
before besides running afoul of the bootstrap bill?
I thought that some of the stuff that they had with Pike trying to dance around the Prime Directive and then being completely foiled because they were able to read his computer was kind of funny.
Yeah. He's like,
or it's like, oh yeah, you're not. It's just like, well, da da da, and it's like your Federation won't exist for another couple millennia, like millions of
I don't
years.
really give a shit what you do.
And he was just like, oh, you figured that out? Yeah, we read your computer. It was easy, barely an inconvenience, and I thought that was pretty funny.
I was trying to figure out why they could snag the Enterprise so easily with their tractor beam, yet they still wanted the antimatter out of the engine or any of their technology when they were obviously so vastly superior.
Well, it's not clear that they were that superior. They just had spacefaring technology and tractor beams because
and phasing tech,
but it
the
didn't
Federation
look,
ever
didn't
perfected.
look like they necessarily had FTL.
Oh, you're right, because you didn't really see the ship go anywhere.
Yeah,
because
then once they were like, oh, we're gonna go blow up the doldrum, it was like,
we're gonna go very slowly.
We're gonna we're gonna go there, and we're gonna get there.
And the time travel depowered the Enterprise, so the Enterprise was
correct.
Yeah,
right.
Was barely
the Enterprise was low on power.
All things being equal, the Enterprise could have overpowered them.
You know, if the Enterprise would have just turned the air conditioning off, maybe the ship would have gone a little faster. We've all driven an old car that never mind. That has that problem. All right, let's go around the horn and give it an out of 10. John, where you at?
Out of 10, I'd say 8.9.
Nice. Ooh, that's a deeper fraction cut than even I usually do. Peter.
I'm probably gonna give this one a 6.75.
Ooh.
just the how the solar system works and all of that just drove me up a wall. So.
That's fair. Well, I'm going to give a very rare, and I'm going to stick to it because usually other people start giving ratings, and I'm like, well, maybe I'm being 10. This was a 10 for me, and very rarely do I run into a 10. Even the little nitpicks that I had about like, well, this thing and that thing, or even the nitpicks that drove Peter nuts, I either didn't really pay attention to or it wasn't enough for me. But they come at Saffron Burrows first. Very, very happy to see her. A lot of tension, great sci-fi concept, mysterious redirects, wrestling with the Prime Directive, Pike, being hoisted by his own petard. I like that as well. And then at the end, him making the split-second decision that leads to the birth of humanity. Didn't really see that coming. But it was What's the?
I hated that so much.
Oh, Peter.
I like the idea of like having to make that decision because the timeline needs to be preserved. But the fact that now the Enterprise is the cause was just like, oh no.
Yeah, there's no living with them now.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. Well, we'll move on to shift gears to the second episode, which I found to be very, very different. So that's episode 2 is the Griffin incident, or as I've dubbed the name of this episode, the Peter Griffin incident. Spock, La'an, and Kirk board a lost Federation ship where an old mystery becomes a survival crisis. Mama! John, talk to me about this episode.
Yeah. So I saw Event Horizon in the theater, like when it came out. And I hadn't seen it.
1997.
Yeah, and I haven't seen it at all since. But so like
same.
I didn't remember like how closely it hewed to it, but definitely, obviously, like a huge homage to films like that. Actually, it's funny. Melissa Navia pointed out that between Jurassic Park and Event Horizon, both the first 2 episodes have a little Sam Neill in them. Like a couple of odes to Sam Neill.
Oh yeah. Love it.
He's present in both of them. That's very cool. So this was for me a bit of a come down. I didn't love this episode. I thought atmosphere was great. I thought it was directed beautifully, like in terms of the horror. Kind of like Peter, how he was annoyed by the bootstrap paradox in the first episode. Like I spent the entire time wanting to know what this was on the Griffin, and I felt very unfulfilled that they didn't answer that question. And I understand that.
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah,
it's a very good point.
And I understand they left it hanging. Now, obviously, this will be picked up again later in the season, or possibly in season 5, because it was a little open ended when they towed away the Griffin.
And lady goes,
like a goat. So,
yeah.
We'll see you again, but
in your dreams, like Pennywise, I'll see you in your dreams.
So I thought it was a bunch of set pieces, obviously to evoke maximum horror, but I don't think it coalesced as a story overall. Like it just didn't feel complete to me. So that's my whole thing about this.
Okay, Peter, first take.
I would tend to agree that it's a little jumpy, where it's not as cohesive as a story. But I did think it was an interesting take on this kind of story. It's not something that we normally see in Star Trek. Mm-hmm. We don't generally deal with the paranormal Warehouse 13 Event Horizon sort of thing.
Right.
So I thought it was an interesting take, but yeah, like you, I wanted the Star Trek scientific explanation for it, rather than, we're just going to give it to Department 12.
Department 12. Now, here
I have Division 12.
I have a Division 12 thought, and I'm going to plant this. So with the over-exploitation and ruining of Section 31 that's happened within the Kurtzman era, do you think that even Starfleet, knowing they have a branding problem, decided to create Division 12 as Section 31 to just throw everybody off? Like, boy, we really need to repitch recontextualize Section 31 because it's a giant joke now.
Well, yeah, but Division 12 is different. I mean, Section 31 is supposed to be like the Black Ops of the Black Ops, right? That was the whole idea, is that they were just a clone version of Starfleet intelligence that we didn't know was underneath it, operating in the shadows.
Until they had all their own ships and storylines, and then the world's worst TV movie that you've ever seen in your entire life. But I digest.
But Division 12, from what they've laid out and what little we found out about it, it's the X-Files. It's Starfleet investigating.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's Starfleet investigating weird paranoia, paranormal things, weird phenomena. Which is tons of in Star Trek, and actually it makes sense. Like, wouldn't there have been this all along? The original series is 2/3 of that, just running
Cat's Paw and Wolf of the Fold,
shit, and unexplainable space gods and all these things.
Apollo,
I am Apollo.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it makes perfect sense that there would be, just like there's a Department of Temporal Investigations that Deep Space Nine created. It makes perfect sense that there's a Division 12 investigating just the weird stuff that starships run into when exploring the galaxy.
Yep. And I thought that was neat. I just thought it was funny that it didn't have an official name, that it was just Division 12. But I did think that it was cool. I did like how Pike was like, oh, yeah, I've had to reference 5 things to them. How many were explained? 2.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Including his girlfriend, most likely. What happened to Batel? Oh, well, she became the Beholder, the warden of the...
Yeah. She turned into a weird statue, as I recall.
Yeah. So,
but it makes you wonder, because we don't know anything about what the hell's coming next on TV. Would that make a great miniseries or a TV movie or something?
I could do a mini series. I don't know if I could do a whole show, but it depends on how they wrote it.
Yeah, same thing with Temporal Investigations. I think would make a great miniseries because it could be something that could go through and touch all franchises across, but not to get too far off the beaten path. So I'm with you guys. I loved the horror aspect of it. I was tilting into Event Horizon with the space part of it, but certainly with Harper, who was the main ghost character that we see and we learn from her in flashbacks. It's great shades of The Shining, which is Kubrick's masterpiece that Stephen King hated and has then turned around and been made in other versions. But I've always loved it, and I do love the original film, and I'm reminded of the Grady sisters, the two murdered twins that are following Danny around, who is the real main character, and how Lon kind of turns into Jack Nicholson. She to the point where she she doesn't have an axe that she kills poor Scatman Carruthers with, but she stabs Jim Kirk all the way through, which I feel like. It's kind of a Star Wars thing. It's like, well, lightsabers can be lethal if they stab you through, unless they aren't. Right. It was kind of the same thing because she had this 10-inch long blade that went all the way through that it poked through his back, and he kind
of got stabbed between the liver and the lung, so he was okay.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. Yeah, like he was okay when the Andorian and with the Journey to Babel stabbed him in the back, and it seemed like he was more laid up after that. Like that would because maybe he did get stabbed in the liver. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. What the hell am I talking about? I didn't like. It was kind of. How did you guys feel about the talk of David, his son, who was about a year old? Was about a year old at this point, I would think, or maybe not even.
Maybe 2.
I don't really love on the choking hazard toy that he wanted to give him because I had one of those when I was a kid. I'm like,
I thought that was funny because it was shaped like Robbie the Robot from
right
in space,
right.
And so immediately I saw him pull it out on the shuttle, and I was like, danger! We're gonna go into danger! Oh no!
I know, and they're gonna be lost in space.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of a funny little tip of the hat.
Yeah, so. I just lost my train of thought. Oh, somebody said, John, was in an article that you wrote or a post that you did today. We were talking about there's the big emphasis on Jim talking about how he was a Boy Scout, and then the line from Star Trek 2 where Carol Marcus says, well, Jim Kirk was many things, but he was never a Boy Scout. Somebody wrote that this morning that I read on social media. I thought it was you, but I'm not sure.
No, but I mean, I don't think Carol was speaking literally. That he.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Yeah. So I like that. How do we? Some people, I've read, seem tired of seeing Kirk in this, Jim Kirk in this, Paul Wesley's performance. I thought this was well done. I thought him having the image of his brother was well done. Particularly though his brother doesn't die in TOS in quite such a gruesome fashion. Right. His death was really good. The gore in this was in a lot of ways too much for me, and that was kind of one of the worst. It could have been worse, but it was pretty bad. So
it was pretty gory.
Yeah. So I had a note that I was bitching about the uniforms that you saw in the videos they were watching. But then again, everything was illusionary, so it doesn't really matter. But how long had they said the Griffin had been missing?
9
was
years.
it 7 or 8 years?
9 years.
9 years.
Yeah.
So they should have been wearing the disco blues,
Right.
if anything at all. Yeah. So, but whatever. Like they need to spend more money on costumes, and plus they've already sold all of those, or I don't know if they had at this point. They're all gone. What do we think about T'Pring being in the episode? She was pretty horrifying.
Yeah. I mean, I was glad to see. I was totally surprised to see Gia Sandu back, and not just horrifying, but obviously, like, she was manifesting Spock's own issues with himself and his Vulcan and his Vulcanness and his humanity. Well, what I found interesting with the whole cutting the ears off and then trying to move the heart to where it isn't as a human is that at this point in Spock's life, he's kind of like now at the full 180. Because Nimoy Spock prized being a Vulcan over being a human, whereas this younger version, Ethan Peck Spock, has been experimenting with humanity for the past 4 seasons, and now he's at the point where he thinks, apparently by cutting off his ears, he thinks that humanity is his greatest strength, and I'm interested how they're going to cycle around back to over the next season and a half, to get him to where Nimoy was, where he decides that being a Vulcan is more important than his own humanity.
Right.
There's a whole section of his story still to come.
Right.
Wow.
That's very interesting. I didn't necessarily think about that. Peter has a thought.
I think we might be getting indications of how that's about to happen with La'an. So
Right. Yeah. All right. Other thoughts before we kind of wrap it up and talk ratings? Things we like, things we didn't.
I have a few thoughts. Okay, so there's a couple of things that.
Oh, please, by all means.
There are a couple of things I thought were weird in terms of how the episode was directed. One was when La'an, every time they got in a turbo lift, right, they get in deck 17, right, and they just stand in front of the door and the door would shut. Deck 17, and they go up. But aren't they supposed to hold the handle?
Yes, they totally, especially on a ship that would be 10 years older. It would be less advanced. You would think it would not just be a reuse of the Enterprise's sets, which is all this was. Right.
And the other thing,
that's annoying. I agree.
And the other thing I thought was weird was Pike and La'an, Pike and Una and Sam and Ortegas beam under the bridge, right? And then they talk to Kirk a little bit, and then Kirk is obviously distressed. And then Una gets on the communicator and tells Scotty, beam Kirk back up to the Enterprise. The thing is, which Kirk? Because Sam and Jim are standing right there, right next to you.
Pick one.
Yeah, pick one.
Right.
So it was weird.
Yeah, right.
Now that can all be written off by the fact that none of that was real anyway. So that's fine.
Right.
But at the same time, I was in the moment, I was like, that's weird. It's just it's a weird little nitpicky thing. But in terms of just
I was the same way with how they beamed onto the ship, which had gravity. But no air, or at least they didn't think it had air, but there was heat. Mm-hmm. But then you just had to remember that the ship was basically the Overlook Hotel.
Right.
So it was creating environments and pockets and stuff for them to be alive so it could torture them. But the overall point is, kind of why was it torturing them so it could siphon their energy? Was it torturing them because it was just the thing to do? Did we figure out exactly why? But like you said, we didn't find out why is the ship haunted? What does it want? Yeah, exactly. It's not I don't know if either one of you saw the follow-up film to The Shining, which was Dr. Sleep, which came out back in 2019. Oh God, I love the hell out of that movie. Peter, if you've not seen it, my highest recommendation. It's on my Fandango, so go watch it. But yeah, it was and Ewan McGregor was the star. He plays an adult Danny Torrance, which goes back to the Overlook and then kind of reveals to you how all of that really comes to shake out. So yeah, this is definitely tease up the concept of figuring out, why the hell is this ship haunted? Where did it come from? What does it want? Where's it going? So I would like to definitely see more of this, without a doubt, because it was a combination of two franchise films that I think are absolutely terrific. So
I have a sneaking suspicion we're not going to see this again.
I have a sneaking suspicion that you're correct, but I do want to see it's Division 12. I would, like I said, a miniseries. Give us something. I mean, it's an interesting concept to explore, to X-Files it, because X-Files was a proven format that people have loved for decades.
I also came up with two theories watching this episode, and I've written about both of them, and I published one today, and I think the other one comes out in a couple of days. So the first one was when Sam gets blown out of the view screen the main viewer, right, the window. And I thought to myself, is this why the original series Enterprise doesn't have a window where it's just
exactly? I wrote that too.
Where I was like, was this when the Enterprise was refitted for Kirk taking over? Did the trauma of watching Sam get blown out of the airlock make him think,
that was his big note?
Yeah, I don't want a window on the bridge. Just get rid of the windows. And then all of a sudden Starfleet just got rid of all the windows and all the starships for the next 100 years.
Somebody could get sucked out. Yeah. They didn't even have a window on the Enterprise E bridge in Nemesis, and that guy it got blown off. So that guy went, "Wah!"
It was a window in Nemesis at that point.
Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah, windows are bad. Why the hell would you put a window that on the other side of it is the vacuum of space? And it's the forward facing. It's the thing that everybody's shooting at. Outside of the fact that why the hell is the bridge a bubble on the top of the ship that any enemy can shoot at? Like, oh, okay, let's shoot right there.
Yeah.
It's not even hard. Drop a bomb on it.
Now, my other theory is a big one. Is a big one where I started thinking about what Division 12 was. Like, why is this show introducing this idea of Division 12 in the 4th season of the show, knowing that they're going to end and stuff? And what is it? And also, like, all these little clues that I started seeing when I was rewatching the first 2 episodes. So here's my theory. Here's my theory of why Division 12 exists at all. It's that I think when Strange New Worlds ends, Division 12 is where La'an, Una, and Ortegas end up when they leave the Enterprise. I think they become secret agents and join this thing. And that's because that becomes their mission. And then, but by virtue of
you never see them again.
Yeah. By virtue of being secret agents, their records are wiped, which is why we never hear about them canonically going forward, where they just exist in secret. Because I was thinking about it, I was like, okay, when they beamed onto Earth, the 3 of them, right, and they're walking around the dinosaurs, I'm like, why would these 3 get chosen? Like, why wouldn't you send Spock, the science officer? Why wouldn't you send Sam, the xenoanthropologist? Why would you send the security chief and the pilot? And the first officer,
or Scotty, who's looking for the fuel that you're trying to find.
Right, exactly. Why would you send these 3? And I thought about it. It's like, maybe it's because the show is planting the idea in the audience's minds that of these 3 together as a team, because they're gonna be gone and they're gonna go off together to do this other thing when the show's over and Kirk has the Enterprise and everybody else stays on it. So that's my big theory. Oh my God. What's going to happen to them?
I love that.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that.
I know nothing whatsoever, but that is my big theory about why Division 12 exists at all.
Right. Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. Peter, any final thoughts before we plug it?
Just as a side visual note, I thought it was interesting that the Griffin had a registry number that was reminiscent of the constellation.
Oh,
okay.
So it was a 10 registry number instead of a 17.
Because it was it a Constitution class ship or was it like an offshoot?
It was a Constitution class.
Connie 1.
Yeah.
Connie 1.5.
So I thought that was kind of I thought that was interesting. I enjoy when I write my own stuff, I keep things in the 1700 zone, even and just use the few as kind of outliers. But I thought it was an interesting reference that there are Constitution classes that don't have that are in the 1700 line. So that was just kind of an interesting little in-universe tip of the hat. So it's like there are little canon nitpicks that I do recognize that I enjoy, guys. It's not the stuff that I complain about.
It's not just him stepping on everything. Oh, man. All right, John, 1 to 10. What do you got?
I'd say 7.
Okay. Cool. Peter?
I'd probably put this one about a 7.25.
Yeah. I'll go 8.25, just because I enjoyed the combination of it, bringing in more Overlook Hotel and coming from The Shining. I think really did it for me. So, well, cool. All right, first 2 episodes done. And that was awesome. So the show, of course, does air on Paramount Plus, I would imagine, if you know. But tune in. I've got good feelings. The other 4 episodes that I've seen so far, and I'm expecting the other 4 will probably be coming our way shortly, John. For those of us who get screeners, I'm very excited to see kind of where they're going. I think they've recovered. They've recovered the fumble, largely what I consider the fumble of season 3, and they're headed in a good direction. But yeah, all right, John. Man, God, thank you for being here. It's great to see you. And we'd love to have you back more often. Where do people find you out there?
Well, I am at Screen Rant. So I write about Star Trek and other things like Yellowstone and what have you. But when there's a Star Trek show on, I'm 100% Star Trek. So all my stuff is at Screen Rant. And on socials, I'm at Back of the Head.
Awesome. Very good. He bleeds Star Trek. Well, very good. All right. We're going to take the briefest of pauses, and Peter and I will be back to talk about top 5 episodes of James Tiberius Kirk. See you in a second. Okay, we're back with a brand spanking new segment. Of course, our guest was John Orchiola of Screen Rant. Awesome guy. We look forward to having him back in the future. Please check out his articles. He is kind of the guy in Star Trek journalism as far as so, yeah. But new segment for us. As I had mentioned, we had gone through doing our top 5, bottom 5 of all the series that had passed. And so now we're kind of moving into the future. And now we're going to be doing a segment where we're talking about top 5 episodes of your leading cast. So your captain and your XO, your first officer. And so we start at the beginning, because what else could you do? So we're going to be talking about James Tiberius Kirk. I'm pretty sure we both really focused on the William Shatner portrayal of the character, so we did not get into Chris Pine. We did not get into talking about I just drew a blank on his name, Paul Wesley. Not that there weren't some segments there, but for me, because he was a starring character, obviously, in the Kelvinverse films, but he is a supporting character in Strange New Worlds, so that doesn't necessarily, purport to be any of his best performances.
And to be fair, the episode that I thought got James T. Kirk correct the most was an alternate version story. So.
No, gotcha. Yeah. So all right. Yeah. So we'll get it down. So again, this will be, potentially a little shorter than a lot of our segment 2s have been recently. But Peter, why don't you kick us off? And for me, these are not in order. They're just 5 great ones. Yep. Because ranking is always difficult and that kind of stuff. Don't need to do that. Need to keep it fun and light, so to speak. Yeah. But yeah, Peter, why don't you give me an episode of Captain Kirk or Jim Kirk that you loved?
All right. An episode that I quite enjoy for James Tiberius Kirk is the Corbomite maneuver.
Oh, yes.
So that is season 1, episode 2 as it was aired. It wasn't right. That's not what it was when it was but it was filmed.
5 or 6, I think, filmed. Yeah, the whole trying to pin down production order versus airing order in the first season is a total shit show.
I watch them in production order because that's just how I prefer it.
Yeah, me too. Well, that's the layout on any streamer and on any disc layout.
They haven't aired on most of the new stuff.
Oh, aired.
They have it in aired order.
So
I don't like aired order because it puts like where no man has gone before at like
after
episode
the main
5 after the man trap, which is just weird.
Yeah.
But anyway,
agreed.
But the Corbomite maneuver has it's one of the best examples of Kirk's quick thinking, where he's just like, he's presented with a problem that seems insurmountable. And while he relies on his crew to do everything that they can to the point of failure, like we get to a point where it's like Scotty's trying everything, Sulu's trying everything, Spock's trying everything, and they're just getting nowhere because there's nowhere to go. The Fesarius is so freaking powerful and Balak's putz.
Yeah, right.
And then Kirk pulls the Corbomite maneuver where it's like, if you blow us up, we've got this special material and you're going to blow yourself up. It's not going to be a fun time.
I totally mean it. I'm not even, it goes into full Joel Biden. Hey man, I'm not even kidding around.
Yeah. It's not word salad, but it's just like, he commits to it and just full on.
I'm committing to this bit.
He commits to the bit and just deceives Balak massively. And we do see this again in multiple different places, like Piece of the Action, where he does Fizbin and all this other stuff.
That's a very fun, best example in my opinion. Yeah,
but the Corbomite maneuver is a very, like, the whole episode kind of revolves around Kirk's quick thinking and being able to like make those kinds of decisions. Right. And so I think that episode just really exemplifies that part of Kirk in a really, really like visible way.
Absolutely. Cool. All right. I loved, and this is kind of to quote Loverboy, if you want a piece of my heart, you got to start from the start. Very first episode, which was actually the second episode, pilot number 2, Where No Man Has Gone Before. Feel like they got it right from the jump. Mm-hmm. You're getting, because this was also Spock's second appearance, but Kirk's first. But it was really obvious from the beginning, even though the who ultimately turns out to be the villain, which is Kirk's best friend. And I believe it was implied the first officer of the ship at that time Was Mitchell the first
it
officer?
seems like Mitchell was probably the first officer at that point.
And then you have an appearance by Sally Kellerman, who would then go on to be Hot Lips Houlihan in the film version of MASH, Robert Altman's MASH in 1970, which gave birth to the TV show. That was one, the first time, certainly. And this was also the first episode of Star Trek, if I'm correct, that I ever saw, aired in syndication in probably 1981 or 1982 on WKBD TV 50 in Detroit, my hometown. But seeing Kirk and Spock together for the first time, playing chess, and then you have Spock say the very awkward irritation, one of your Earth emotions, because obviously you're breaking the character in, so he's going to talk funny.
And he loses ananyway.
So, but it was funny, and it shows you even the tight knit. And Gary, Mitchell's a very likable guy, if a bit of a misogynist, even really just in the first part of the show, because he's like, hey, how's the chess game going? Or Kelso sounded a little nervous on the thing, but then when Daner comes on who's Sally Kellerman's character, comes up to the bridge and he makes a remark, and then she slaps him down for being like, well, I heard that's your line, Commander, line included. And he turns around and says, what a frosty bitch. Or he says something like that to his buddy. So it's like, yeah, not really very professional, but it was the 1960s. What do you want? But,
it was kind of a foreshadow of him becoming an absolute douche when he got godlike.
Right. Yeah. He was. Yeah. It's kind of like the super soldier serum in Captain America, versus the Red Skull. Good becomes great, bad becomes worse. So yeah, maybe Mitchell wasn't such a great guy afterwards, because he wanted to be Apollo, but yeah, exactly. So and then Danner gets the powers too. They try to maroon him. Kirk figures out he has to kill his best friend, but he has a couple of great lines back to Spock saying, can you try to feed, what Daner thinks he's fine. What makes her right and you wrong? She's a psychologist. And he says, well, she feels, I don't. He says, we'll be lucky if we can get away after marooning him. And in the end we get, and the thing that sold this pilot, the very famous story that sold this pilot, is that it ended in a big fist fight, and a laser battle, as opposed to the cerebral nature of the Cage, which just didn't do it for the people at NBC. But yeah, I thought it was powerful right out of the gate. Really informed us a lot of Kirk's character right out of the gate, and kind of set the tone for his friendship with Spock. So I loved it. This was also the first appearance of Scotty was in this episode. We still haven't met Bones. We get a different doctor.
Sulu's in this one too.
Sulu's in this one. Yep, his first appearance in blue. So he's the staff physicist, I believe was his title. And we have a different doctor. We have a different doctor from the Cage. We have Dr. Piper, I think, Mark Piper.
Yep.
And then who's the Boyce was the guy from who may make an appearance again in Strange New Worlds. I'm just saying. But anyway, love the hell out of this episode without a doubt. All right, give me another one.
Interestingly enough, the Where No Man Has Gone Before also referenced Kirk as a walking stack of books on legs.
Right. He was just he's a big old nerd.
Yeah. So hilariously, just to reference what we were talking about earlier, Captain Kirk as a cadet would have been a Boy Scout. So Carol Marcus would have been incorrect, were she not speaking literally.
She was just tossing shade, talking about her ex. Trust me, as you know, it happens.
Yeah. So another one that kind of sticks out to me is season. I picked a lot of season one. Is season 1, episode 12, The Conscience of the King.
Oh, God, great episode.
Yeah, so this one is...
That girl, what was her name, Lenora?
Yeah. No, she's
absolutely nuts. Reminds me of my first wife. Just kind of... but very, very dramatic.
Yeah. So the interesting thing about this episode is it's not Kirk at his best, right? It's not Obsession, because Obsession has some very specific things.
Right.
But this one is Kirk dealing with past trauma, like some pretty horrific stuff. So this is a moment where we learn that Kirk doesn't have like a perfect backstory. He was on a colony world where everyone got murdered.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm sure that didn't throw him off.
Yeah, that didn't mess him up at all.
Right, as a kid, because what was he 15 or something like that? He was
a teenager. Something like that. Yeah. Non-canonically, he saw Hoshi Sato get killed.
Exactly. You're right. It's one paragraph away from being canonical.
Yeah.
Yeah. It got cut. The screen got cut, so otherwise it would have shown that that's how she got killed off.
But we have Kirk. We have Kirk like making a judgment and then having to like walk back on it a bit. Like he's like, that's Kodos, I know it is, and then he's like, I have to like,
which now of course just makes me think of the two aliens from The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Kodos. that would be a great deep fake.
Yeah.
Like they just deep fake him in instead.
Yeah, that would be funny. but you have Kirk, like he has to like get past his own like preconceived notions. Now he does end up being correct. Like it's also an example of Kirk's gut instinct being correct, which is very, very often the case.
Right.
But he has to like wait until he has actual proof to make any sort of action. Whereas like Riley is like all gung ho to like go take him out the minute he finds out.
Yeah, right.
And so this is not Kirk at his best. This is Kirk like making some pretty shitty decisions,
right,
and
being human,
saying things that may not be all that great. But it's one of those things that like Kirk is not like, he is human. He's not just a paragon standing on a hill who's just like, I do the best things and the right things all the time. So that's
right.
one thing that I can really respect about Jim Kirk, is that he is, I think he's a great captain, but he does make mistakes, and he does admit them and let people know like, yeah, I screwed up.
Yeah.
And then he goes to Spock or Bones and's like, okay, usually it's Bones when he needs conscience help. He's like, Bones, what do I do? And then Bones tells him, you're an idiot, Jim. Let's do this. And
he listens too, which is good.
And so that's another thing that it really shows this episode helps with, is showing that Kirk does rely on his friends to keep him grounded when he's dealing with shit that is where he's too emotionally invested in it.
Right.
So.
Right. Absolutely. Good deal. All right, cool. I'm going to dip into the film territory, which I did twice on my list, which you and I were talking about last night because we went and saw Spider-Man last night. So we were chatting about this in line. Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Not actually my favorite Star Trek movie, though it does default to that with many, many people. But Kirk kind of faced the cornucopia of everything. And it's funny, if you look at the exceptional Star Trek Encyclopedia, the printed version, Kirk's age in this film, 52. Which is just a couple of years older than myself. So I think about my own demons and all the shit I've been through in my life. But Kirk kind of gets a smorgasbord, and he gets the love of his life who left him, a female love of his life, a kid who doesn't know him and doesn't seem to want to, an enemy who he wronged or feels that he wronged him, hell-bent on killing all of them. Yeah. And then ultimately I wrote the death of his HLM, or his hetero life mate. You know, I wrote the other love of his life, and then we had the other love of his life, and then finally the other love of his life, which we'll get to in a moment here. I think this makes for kind of his best hours, because he's dealing with, it's and 52 is midlife for them, because everybody lives to be more than 100, it seems. So 52 is midlife for him, where for midlife for all of us is 35 or 40. But yes, he's doing his midlife thing, and he's saying, I've taken the promotion, I'm in a job that sucks. I really want, Bones really breaks it down for him in the scene in their apartment, where he says, you're flying a goddamn computer console when you want to be out there hopping galaxies. And then he's like, well, don't mince words, Bones. What do you really think? And he's like, what I really think is you're being a dummy. Get your shit back, go out there, do space stuff, or you're just going to sit here and rot, and your life is going to continue to suck. Because your life sucks now. You look miserable. You're sitting around drinking, staring at a fireplace. Like, probably you do that every night, which is not, because again, nobody has TV, so he's not watching a baseball game or something. So it's like, that total sidebar. What the hell do people watch while they're just sitting and relaxing? Just watch a fire burn, or do you watch the news? That's still TV.
I mean, if like we saw that, like in, for instance, All Good Things, Data had a screen hidden behind the fireplace that did the hologram. Right. So he could have had like a drop down one or whatever.
Right.
So it's I think that screens and entertainment still exist. They just
he has a little screen in the next movie when he's watching the replay of the engine room thing. So, but anyway, that's Star Trek 2. I love it. I love it for that reason, not because it's a space battle and it's all this. It's the things that make Star Trek really great, which is delving into things that we all face. And then, as Star Trek fans, as we get older, we're facing all these things. You're looking back on your life. What have I done? Where am I? There may be, and as Picard says in Generations, I've come to, keenly realize that there are less days ahead than there are behind. What am I doing with the rest of my life? And get off and have a space battle and hook up with your ex and meet your kid who doesn't like you very much, who at the end they have a beautiful moment, which is someone who's estranged from my own son. I'm totally jealous of. So this was definitely one of his best. And Nicholas Meyer, who we of course had on the show when we started doing the Spotlight, our great interview, super great guy.
Yeah.
He was the director and heavily involved in writing most of it, I believe.
Yeah.
But really crafting the vision, and it's a work that holds up.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think Wrath of Khan really did delve into Kirk's character. So I was going to put that on the list, but I knew you're covering it already.
Oh, yeah, because I told you. I tipped you off. All right, well, then give me a different one.
All right. I am going to do A Taste of Armageddon, episode 1.
Which got a great quote in a show that you and I both love, For All Mankind, was quoted by Danny. And when they were going to make the big jump with the International Space Station, they were like, "No, we're going to do this message." She quotes this episode. Great line from this episode.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact line, but yeah, it's
we're going to kill, but we're not going to do that today. I believe. I wish I remember the whole line too.
Yeah, so I think that this episode with like the absolute bullshit that he's putting up with and the way that he makes a solution and just kind of ends it.
Yeah.
Like when Kirk has to like make a hard call, he makes that call and he goes for it.
Yeah. He's all in. Chips on the table.
Yeah. So like, it's one of those things of like when Kirk is quick to see the injustice of a situation. Where it's like this is wrong. Like you're doing simulated warfare and you're killing your own people because as McCoy would say, a goddamn computer console.
I was going to say, and you set Kirk up with the thing he likes the best. Time to talk a computer to death.
Yes, and he's really good at that. Like that's also kind of something that happens a lot. Is Kirk is good at telling computers to piss off, and
he breaks their little computer brains.
Yeah,
he breaks their chips, but by talking, not like going in there and shoot like pew. You could go in there and shoot it, but no, better to talk it to.
He doesn't shoot the capacitors or the processors. He just tells it, "You're dumb, and now you need to think about pi to a million places, and you're done." But A Taste of Armageddon, like they get captured and all of this stuff, and like the way that Kirk has to figure out how to get out of it because he gets like caught into the whole thing and they're going to vaporize him and some of his crew. And so then he has like a reason to like really, really push to get.
No, I'm having some feelings about the whole thing. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he already thought it was wrong. And like, we do see this in other episodes where like something's wrong and Kirk will just push to get it changed anyway, because that's the kind of guy that he is. But with this one, like he's seeing just people get like obliterated for legitimately no reason.
Right.
And there's no prime directive here because this is like, a capable society in terms of technology. They're just a bunch of idiots.
Right.
And so Kirk is just like, I am telling you that this is the wrong way to do this. You're killing your own people, and you guys need to have a sit down and really think about this. And so he basically destroys the system so that they can sit down and think about it. And that's something that Kirk does really, really well, is where he's just like, he gets people to stop, and a lot of times by force, sometimes it's drop kicking Andorian or whatever he needs to do. But there's the whole thing of him having like his big speeches explaining like, you need to like figure this out. And here's the principles that you need to consider. Not the mic drop and you figure it out. So he doesn't like tell them, this is your conclusion, do this. He's like, these are the principles that you need to consider. This is what I think is the right solution. Figure it out. So it's not quite it's not the 2x4 that I complain about, but Kirk is very passionate about getting things fixed. And this episode shows that really well, and being approached with just like an atrocity that has no reason to exist.
Right. Exactly. Cool. Well, this is of absolutely no surprise to anyone who's ever listened to me talk about Star Trek, but my favorite Star Trek film is Star Trek II, The Search for Spock. And I think even though we were searching for Spock and his name is in the title of it and the guy directed the movie, this movie is about Kirk. Because it's a razor sharp close second of kirkiness that happens in this film, and just really the strength of the strength of the script, the strength of the direction. He runs into an enemy that he can't outsmart. He tries to bluff Christopher Lloyd's Krug, and Krug says, no, I don't think so. You're full of shit, and we're going to come over there. Not only are we going to board your ship, but we have sausages. We're just going to kill one of them. Not going to talk about it. Just going to do it. And then you see the son that he's just getting to know sacrifice himself because that Klingon was going to kill Savick, and he attacks this Klingon, which is suicide, and then he takes a knife in the chest. I've actually seen the costume, for when they sold it at Christie's that Merrick Buttrick was wearing, just coated in blood. So he took that knife right in the chest, because you hear this splorch when he just jams down. And then Savick's David is dead. And then just to see Kirk stumble backwards and he land in his chair, and he's like,
well, he doesn't even land on the chair. He misses the chair.
Yeah,
completely.
he misses the chair, lands on the ground, and he just the full weight of like, hey, I was just in here doing my thing, and there wasn't really any way he could have prevented David's death.
No,
but because it was a split second, not even it wasn't a choice he was even given to do anything at all. But then so he's now the real love of his life. So throughout Carol Marcus, throughout Spock, his real love of his life is the Enterprise, my beloved Connie 2. He has to sacrifice it in order to kill off the Klingon crew. So you get the destruction of the Enterprise, which will forever play in my nightmares until the day that I die, watching the most beautiful space vehicle of all time explode, so that he can save Spock and have a great punch out. A lot of people say, oh, the punch out at the end with Christopher Lloyd was anticlimactic. Bullshit. I think it was very, very tightly paced. And it was done with a minimum of fuss, and it just wasn't anything ridiculous, and probably done with the minimum of cost, even though we're on a set that was, burning and falling apart and everything.
Yeah.
I believe there was a background to the story that there was a fire on the set that Shatner himself helped evacuate people from. So he's a real life hero. But there's a lot of background on that. But regardless, but he ends up saving the day. But there is an absolutely, and then they get to Vulcan, and they're going to march Spock up to Mount Seleia and put him in front of Dame Juth Anderson, who's going to do the old swapperoo. Yeah. But the exchange that he has with Sarek right as they get off, Sarek says, "Kirk, I thank you. What you have done is what I've done. I had to do." Sarek says, "But at what cost? Your ship, your son." And he says, "If I hadn't tried, the cost would have been my soul." Fucking chills every time. Yep. I mean, really, if I was ranking, I would probably put this at the top. I think. Yeah.
I mean,
this really shows who Kirk really is at his core. Is that it's when for a brother, for his real love, his real corporeal love, which is Spock, his best friend, the best friend he'll ever have. He'll do anything, and he'll sacrifice anything, and he did. So every time I say the line along, and I'm still every time it's said, and I'm still in chills. So no notes on Star Trek 3. Absolutely love it.
It's really, really good. I would agree.
Yeah.
All right, give me down because I knew you were bringing it up.
Yeah,
so
smart. All right, give me another one. Who knows? Because I'm down to my last two, but for all I know,
I'm on my last two. There's a bonus because I always write a bonus.
Sure. All right, give me one.
So just because we were already talking about the films, I'm going to bring up Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country.
Yes, you had mentioned. Yeah.
So this one is a very different tack from 2 and 3, but it's similar in terms of the kinds of questions that it's raising, right? Because now we're because the other two, especially Wrath of Khan, is dealing with like Kirk's feeling old, the midlife crisis, but then Star Trek 6 is he is old, he is retiring. Right. And so you see like he's old and racist as fuck. Because you never see him in the beginning. Traumatized more, right? It's not really racist per se. True. But
right.
But like you have his whole thing where it's like he watched Klingons kill his son, and then Spock is pushing him to be like the olive branch to the Klingons, and he's like, "Screw you and the shuttle you rode up on, man."
He's like, "Yeah, kind of. How about not?
Yeah,
how about we don't do that? How's that sound?"
And so like the interesting thing about this episode, similar to like Conscience of the King, is you see Kirk have to be confronted with his own blindness. Right, where he has to see past his prejudice of the Klingons, where he's like, he's being snarky. He's like saying that Chang's quoting Hitler, all of these things.
Or says to Spock, "Well, I hope you're happy."
Yeah.
Some the old married couple.
Yeah. No, there's just a lot of really, really great character moments in there. But also like Kirk gets to learn, and then but then you also see him relying on his friends and pulling his friends out of shit, even when he's like still trying to figure things out. So again, we see back to Star Trek 3, where this is a core part of Kirk's character. Like towards the end of 6, like Spock is dining on ashes, right? He's in his room moping because it's like, oh, I made bad call, and blah, blah, blah. And then and then Kirk's getting back in there. It's like, you made a bad call. Everyone does. And did I almost die? Yeah, but you know what? I didn't. So let's move on. So it's just one of those really beautiful things where it showcases Kirk's friendship and how that helps him move past just about anything. But then also like the fact that he's able to see again when he's wrong and where to grow from that. And then when he learns to grow, he can be the catalyst to help the Federation learn. And so that's something that like Kirk is a mover and a shaker, and he like really gets things to change. When he makes up his mind, that man moves planets. And so this is one of those movies that really shows just the friendship, the ability of Kirk to change, but also the force of nature that is James Kirk.
Yeah. So. Yeah. He is the storm. Oh, well, easy one here. And again, both of my last two ones are pretty low hanging fruit, because when it's great, right? You don't have to find ways to make something that's not great on a list, because that's just like, oh, how creative. We don't need to be that creative. It's great if it's call a duck a duck, walks like a duck, talks like a duck.
Exactly.
But I'm going to go with, of course, City on the Edge of Forever,
that was my bonus. Great.
Late first season episode. Like I said, low hanging fruit, well worn pick, but good is just good. So I wrote the other love of Kirk's life is a woman from the past who saw right through him, figured his shtick out, and said, and Spock said, well, Spock should say captain, even when he doesn't say it, he says it. I see him by your side as if he always has been and always will be. It's like, who is this? Who couldn't fall in love with a woman like that?
Yeah.
She's incredible. And it's Joan Collins, who's magnanimously beautiful and mysterious, and this was years before Dynasty, when it was just like, ugh, but still just an absolutely incredible actor. So this was Edith Keeler his soulmate from across time? Who knows? But he still let her die because he had to. Spock showed him irrefutable proof that her living would have caused the world to be dominated by Nazi Germany, so what are you going to say? No, I'm going to save this one chick because she's super great in the sack. And no, he's like, she's got to die. And then even, because they're there in the past because Bones is on a crazy high off of Corderzine and falls through this Guardian of Forever, which is a time portal. And in doing so, he disrupts the past. Mm-hmm. Our people are magically protected, but they're able to jump through at the same time and go back, hoping to find him, which they arrive and they don't. They show about a week up early. It's Depression era 1930s New York City, filmed on the Universal backlot, which doesn't look at all like New York at all, but it's TV in the 60s. What do you want? But they go through this whole sequence where there's this woman named Edith Keeler who runs a mission, who takes the two of them in, and Kirk falls in love with her. And Bones then shows up and he's wearing off his high, and Edith ends up rescuing him as well. And then as they're all about to come together, because Bones wakes up and he walks out the front door of the mission, and Kirk Spock are standing there and they're like, oh, hey, buddy, it's great to see you. And Edith is across the street because she and Kirk were going to the movies or whatever. And she's like, oh, hey, I know all three of those guys. And what a space case, just starts wandering in the street and gets hit by a truck. But Kirk sees her just in time to stop. Oh, no, Bones sees her in time to stop, but Kirk holds him back.
Kirk stops McCoy, yeah.
And then McCoy says, Jim, do you know what you did? I could have saved her. Do you know what you did? And Spock says he knows, Doctor. He knows. And then that's the end. They show back up in the past and everything is fine. And Kirk just says, let's get the hell out of here, which was one of the rare times you heard the HE double hockey sticks him say that. But a heartbreaking and timeless story written by the very controversial Harlan Ellison. It ended up being, I think, his only contribution to the series because he was such a pain in the ass. But absolutely, hands down good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Great episode.
Hands down good stuff. All right, what do you got?
Okay, so my last one is season 1, episode 8, Balance of Terror.
Ooh. Yeah. In another time, I could have called you friend.
Yeah, so this one...
And remade in Strange New Worlds to some success.
This one's still better.
Oh, God, yes, of course.
This one's so much better. So this one is a classic submarine film, basically, where you have... It's all about the tactics and the figuring things out and guessing. And then you also have the whole wrinkle with like, well, the Romulans look like Vulcans. Oh no, now I have to deal with crew members that are turning against Spock, and it's almost mutiny, and I have to
deal with... Did you send them a signal, Mr. Pointy Ears? No, that guy sucked.
We have to deal with like crap racism. And so it's one of those things where we get to see Kirk's command style on full display of how he's able to like puzzle things out of like a commander he doesn't know. But he's able to like figure him out, and then how he's able to take command of his crew, particularly dealing with like Lieutenant Shithead.
Yeah, right. I think that was actually his name.
Yeah, his name was definitely Lieutenant Shithead. No, it wasn't.
That's why I called the episode, if I could get away with it.
Yeah.
Or Shathid, if you prefer.
Yeah, Lieutenant Shathid. Yeah. But yeah, so we have Kirk being able to like figure it out, and then even at the end when he's confronted with his enemy, he's like, I can still save you, and the Romulan commander obviously says no and dies anyway. But
and dies.
But there's kind of there's that honorable warrior part that we see of Kirk in this episode. So not just the fact that he's a brilliant tactician and is able to figure out his enemies and take command of his crew, but also that like he doesn't just kill because he can. He doesn't just wipe out the enemy because, they need to get blown up. He does try to make the right decision and to save everybody. That's who he is. And like we do see that a little bit later. The other scene legitimately just ran out of my head. But like that's who Kirk is. And so this one does a really, really good job of showing that, where he will like offer clemency to enemies and do all these things. So even though he does fight, like, General Chang is like, all warriors in space are cold warriors. And you see Kirk like, and Kirk's face is like, bullshit. And so this is an example of Kirk's type of warrior, which is not the same as Chang. Where he does fight when he needs to, and I wouldn't say he's ruthless, but he's efficient.
Right.
But he never loses his humanity, even when he does that. I mean,
stay golden, pony boy.
He still makes mistakes here and there, but like generally speaking, that is something about Kirk's command style where he does not lose his humanity.
Right. Yes. Well, I'm going to finish with a silly one, and again, we've had the author of this episode on the show. But Trouble with Tribbles from season 2 is beloved. Kirk at his most whimsical, kind of packed with his most fun quotable lines. Feel free to jump in. Close that door, and I didn't know 12 Klingons constitutes a swarm. Then I've never doubted the competency of a Federation official until now. Yeah. It's an absolutely beloved tale. The stakes are pretty low. Nobody's really gonna die until it was kind of reconfigured into the 30th anniversary
Kirk
DS9
to die,
and one of them got packed with a bomb and stuff. But we get the super fun Klingon bar fight scene, which is pretty awesome. But it's a joy. Yeah, so they don't seem to like you. I wonder why. Because Tribbles hate Klingons and stuff. So it's just a joy, and Kirk is great in it.
Yeah, it does showcase Kirk's sense of humor, which is throughout the whole show. But it really showcases his just like his just ridiculousness.
Yeah, I just absolutely adored it. So, definite top watch. And so, yeah, I would say, hey, play with us at home. Drop us a line. We're always looking for feedback for people to tell us kind of what you guys think about what you heard about on the show. So, any of our socials, we'll give all the tags at the end, or certainly our email, which is of course at secretfriendsunite@gmail.com. Give us your top Kirk episodes. We'd love to hear it, and we will feature those on our social media. But that's basically the show. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back, obviously, to talk about Strange New Worlds season 4, episodes 3 and 4 in our next segment. But and thanks, of course, to John Orchiola for joining us. We love having the legitimacy of having who I consider to be one of the best Trek journalists that are out there right now. So, John, it was great to have you. Peter, where do people find you out there if they want to talk about Kirk and Strange New Worlds and etc.?
All right. So if you want to find me on social media to tell me I was wrong about dinosaurs, you can find me around social media at Petrus Aquinas. I'm on most social media platforms. I'm not terribly active, but if you find me and you poke at me, I might say something. Otherwise, you can find me on our Discord, both SFU and Trek Geeks. And then you can also find me over on ELH's Twitch and Discord, where we do Star Trek Adventures games primarily. And you can find me behind the scenes on Starship Excelsior.
Excellent. Very good. And I am the guy behind all of the Secret Friends Unite socials. We're everywhere except for really X and TikTok. Don't really mess about with those. And my personal socials, which are at the C3, TheCeeThree. I've finally gotten on a schedule, I hope, to do my regular little 3-minute kitchen chats, which is where I'm jumping in, sitting at the island in my kitchen in front of my very colorful refrigerator, talking about stuff that doesn't make it into our normal shows. Benealing Peter, he may start doing some as well. Yeah. So yeah, there's just a little supplemental material. You'll find that on all of my socials, and of course the Secret Friends Unite socials and our YouTube channel as well. But with that, friends, thanks for jumping in. Don't forget secretfriendsunite.com, patreon.com/secretfriendsunite for all the bonus content, and secretfriendsunite@gmail.com for your comments, thoughts, and suggestions about Star Trek. It's been great having you on board. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to tell you, as always, that sharing is caring, and to keep on trucking.
Peace and long life.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and podcast services around the galaxy, as well as video on our YouTube channel. You can support Secret Friends Unite by becoming a Patreon member, get bonus programs and more over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Join our Discord community for even more discussions on all things geek. For all the latest updates on Secret Friends Unite, make sure to follow us on threads at secret.friends.unite and visit secretfriendsunite.com. Find our merchandise at TeePublic and Redbubble. Thanks for listening, and may the Force live long and prosper.